I would like to give a shout out to a few people that saw to the last Sunday commentary video, did very well. I'll do that at the end of the video. So, hi everyone, welcome to Nest Telly. Welcome to another episode of Rethinking Marriage, February 2026. That's what we're doing. If this is not your first time, I am Nez. If this is your first time, I am Nez. If this is not your first time, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome. Please sit down. Today we're discussing the title Rethinking Marriage with the subtitle The Risk of Honesty. I think it was last year, some time ago, I talked about the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I think that's his name. I can't believe I can't forget, because it was my favorite book of 2023. I read that book like 16 times that year because of how insightful and thoughtful I thought it was. Rule number 1, the 4 agreements. There were 4 agreements. The first agreement, okay, I'll put a picture of the other 4. The 4 agreements. The first one is that your words must be impeccable. Now, of course, I was like, what does the word impeccable even mean? And what he explained was that the need for your word to be as true as possible. Now, the 4 agreements are the agreements that you need to make to be able to have long, thriving, and growing relationships. Do you understand? And growing relationships, okay? And being truthful, being honest is such a necessary part for a beautiful and fulfilling marriage. Remember, we're talking about marriage. Follow me, okay? Rethinking marriage. So a lot of us did this thing where most of our lives we were not honest. Now, don't come for me, but just like if you follow me through, if at the end you still disagree, I'll hear in the comment section. A lot of us, from when we were young, we were made to do things we didn't want to do. We were made to take on some life-changing things, activities that we didn't really want to do. Now, for every time you had to squeeze, squash, and bend yourself to be able to fit into this mold that is what you now think you are, you've become more and more dishonest with yourself. I'm not calling you a liar. I'm not saying you lied. I didn't say you're not telling the truth. I'm just saying that a lot of us adults who are married or intend to marry don't actually know who we are. And it affects the way we come to a marriage. Now imagine, because when you think of a lot of times when you go to maybe say a seminar or an event where they're talking to single people, what you hear a lot of is they'll tell you, if you're a single man and you want to talk to a girl, this is how you do it. But the thing is that you are a human being. You're not a textbook. Do you understand? You're a person. You're not pastry. That's what comes to my mind. You're not food. You're not a recipe where add 3 whatever of sugar, 1 dash of salt, 2 baking soda. That's not who you are. You are unique. Do you understand? Your experiences, the way you grew up makes you unique. Your position in your family, that's were you first, second, or are you an orphan? It makes you unique. Your temperament makes you unique. What else? Your location, where you were born, makes you unique. What that means is that the possibility, the way you would approach a girl as a guy, if you wanted to approach a girl, you will not approach the way somebody else will. But meanwhile, you've been told that this is how we talk to girls. If you want to talk to a girl, this is what you do. So you take on that persona because you want to come across as cool. There are multiple things that make you not to be honest in the way you live. Do you understand? It could be from family, that's maybe your parents, then family if you have siblings, then if you have cousins, then if you have friends. Because you're trying to come across a certain way, you now do something. So like what then happens is that those things may have helped you when you were younger, when you were growing up. Do you understand? Knowing the right time to answer, knowing the way to be the favorites of your parents at a particular time. Those things may have worked for you when you were a child. When you get older, you continue to do it because you don't actually know another way to be. A lot of us fall into that category. Like I said, feel free to prove me wrong in the comment section. But a lot of us come from there. So what happens is that we approach marriage with this, not the best foot forward, but with this persona that is not you. People like a guy that is charismatic. People like a woman who is natural. That's another one I used to hear a lot back in secondary. So guys don't like girls that wear a lot of makeup. They like a girl that looks natural. Then you normally you're not a natural girly. I put that in quotes. You're not somebody that you like to do bare face normally. You like to wear your real hair. That's not who you are. But they say guys like this type of thing. You do it. And the thing is that these things come in different levels. When around the time when I was getting married, I remember conversations being had with parents, with children, girls, telling girls, don't buy a car. No man wants to marry a woman that has a car because you come across as too, like you cannot be submissive. What if, I don't know if you understand, it's so strange because what you then attract is somebody that is not for you. I don't know if you're following me. Do you understand? So there is a risk to honesty, but a lot of us are not aware. A story I think about a lot, I started thinking about a lot after I did therapy a few years ago when it comes to this honesty, is I think about Joseph. Okay, if you're not a Christian, there was a man called Joseph in the Bible. The story, his story starts from when he was like born. But when he was younger, when he was a teenager, he was his father's favorite. Everybody liked him. Oh, sorry, his father liked him, but he had like 11 brothers, 10 brothers that hated. When I say hate, they despised him from the bottom of their head. They hated him. They hated him so much that they would sit down and talk about how much they hate him. So one day, out of their intense hatred and the darkness that was inside them, they grabbed the boy and threw him in a pit with the intention of killing him. They had planned to kill him actually. One of them now said, no, that's not who we are. Cannot kill our brother. So they sold the boy to slavery. Now the boy was in slavery for, I think, I can't remember, but I want to say 20 years. I think it's less than that, like maybe 15, 16 years. But he was in slavery for a while. And while he was in slavery, multiple other things happened to him. Do you understand? He became a very good house manager for Potiphar. And then he did this thing. I'm sorry if you're hearing this helicopter. I don't know what's happening in my street today. Anyway, he became Potiphar's house manager, and he was one of the best. Then Potiphar's wife, because he was an ensemble and a fine boy, Potiphar's wife wanted to sleep with him. Uncle said, I know God though, I cannot come and do my God like this, and then ran away. The woman, in her bruised, will I say ego or pride, decided, you know what, this boy is going down for this. Who does he think he is to do me like this? You know, and they went and reported to Big Daddy Potiphar. Now daddy, this boy tried to try something funny with me. That's how Joseph entered jail. So he was in jail for years before eventually he became a prime minister from there. Honestly, it's a wild story. If you have not read the story in the Bible, please go and read it. So he becomes Pharaoh's number 2. You understand? Pharaoh's number 2 has on 2 because Pharaoh cannot put someone above him. I feel like if Pharaoh had his way, he'd be like, in fact, you know what, be Pharaoh. Me, I'll just stay on the side, nothing to do. You know, because of the amount of help he was able to prefer to Egypt at the time. All this happened in Bible. So Egypt, Israel, all those type. So why I remember this when connecting this to honesty is that there was famine in the land and everybody was coming to Egypt to pick grain, and his brothers, you see those 10 brothers, the ones that hated him and sold him, came to collect food, and he saw them, he recognized them, they didn't recognize him. This was, I'm talking of 15, 20 years from now. It was a long time. Maybe I'll write the real number here when I find out, you know. And eventually when he was able to pull them apart. Do you understand? I was like, trying to rattle them, blah blah blah. You, if you're the one, what will you do? I know me, I will know, you will not know peace, I'm telling you. Anyway, so he rattled them a bit and all that. Then eventually, they were now telling stories about, he had asked them, who are you, where did you come from, that kind of thing. And they said something that I found very, very strange. They told Joseph, that they told their brother Joseph, that we were 12 boys, we were 12 sons before. One died because, you know what, they went and lied to their father. After they had sold Joseph, they went and told the father, they set up a scene, they set up play. His jacket, they tore it and poured blood and made it look like he was attacked by a wild animal. So just Jacob has been crying for all these years that, hey, well, my son, he has been mourning this his son that lost this whole year. That's Jacob is their father. So when the boys met Joseph, they saw Joseph Kuroko. They didn't know he was the one. They said the same lie. So imagine what it's like living all these years with this lie. Do you think those boys had peace? Those men, they had peace. They have families, they had wives, and all that. But think about it. How much peace can these boys really have? So if you look at honesty, because that's something that came, when I was thinking like, but these boys, they would have not found she was funny. It was now, I think the second time Joseph had tried to do something funny with them, tried to wrestle them again, that they now eventually said, we are sorry. See what happened though. We had a brother that actually got out. So I can imagine that's the first time they were actually saying it out after that time it happened, because all of them decided to close their mouth and keep it to their grave, take it to their grave. There's a lot of danger. There's a lot of danger for you and your loved ones when you choose not to live in honesty. Now, Joseph's story is an extreme. Some of us are actually not outrightly lying. We've not done something horrible and acted like we didn't lie. But the thing is that there's a place in the middle where we have all become performers. We are performing because we want to be right in the eyes of everybody. We want to be the favorites. We are trying to fit. So it's like it affects the way we approach marriage. It affects the way we even relate to our children. Most of us, our parents told us that they came first in school. Question is, who came second? That is a performance. I don't know if you understand. I don't know if you can follow, because every time I try to talk about it, I don't know how to say it, so it doesn't become too this big combat, something that is impossible to understand. But I believe that you understand me. Do you? You know, if you think about it, when you now marry, now imagine you're somebody that grew up a certain way, lived a certain type of life, did something, somewhere good, somewhere not good, and then you marry, but because you've prioritized this marriage of a thing, you're willing to cast parts of yourself aside to make this marriage work. I hear in programs, you hear somebody say, oh, I have a child, like a girl will come, a woman will say, oh, I got pregnant when I was 16, I got pregnant when I was 15, and there's this boy I really like, but I don't know whether I should tell him. That's it. I don't know if you understand. That is this honest way of thinking. I think that for marriage to work, when I'm talking of fulfilling, wholesome marriage that will continue to grow until both of you die, that's love that will continue to grow, relationship that will remain tight when you guys are peoples, the person has to know who you are, to be willing to accept. Because how do you accept someone for who they are when you don't even know them? You don't know who they are. The person that has been dishonest for most of their life doesn't even know who they are. How are you knowing? I don't know if you understand. So if I come at you and we date for 2-3 months, if I one day and I tell you, okay, you know what, I have a child somewhere. Meanwhile, in that 2 months, you think, oh, I'm perfect and this girl is amazing, blah, 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 then I have a child. Same thing with even a man. If you're dating a guy and just think, oh my God, I really like this guy, oh, he's this, he's that, then 3-4 months or maybe years, because I've heard some crazy things down the line, you find out that the guy has another child from somewhere else altogether. That is a dishonest way of living. Again, this is another extreme. There are multiple other ways that this form of dishonesty comes in. I talked about the thing about buying car. This one I found it very crazy. Do you understand? Because then you marry someone who thinks that you cannot afford a car, but you can afford it. So what then happens, and it's something that happens a lot, when you see marriages that have a lot of major issues, some things that they are saying, you're looking at it like, how did we get here? There is dishonesty in the midst, and this is not a as in, it's not a religious conversation per se. I don't know if you understand. Yes, God asks us to. If you go to, I'll put a link to all as many verses as possible where God highlights where the Bible highlights the importance of honesty for our own selves. Because sometimes when God tells us to do some things, you think that He's telling you, He's giving you work. A lot of times it's better for your own life. Being honest makes you. So when you lie, when you tell the truth, you don't have to think of the story. If you were walking down the road and you saw a man selling fish, and you went home and told them that you actually saw a guy selling pawpaw, that means that in 2 years, if they call you and say, that day you were walking down that road, what did you see? You'll not be thinking, what did I tell him I saw that time? Meanwhile, what you saw was fish. If you said, I saw a man selling fish, 15 years from now, as long as your brain is still intact, if someone says, what did you see that man doing that day? Say, that man that was selling fish now. So you don't have to make up a story. So imagine entering marriage with a made-up version of yourself, and you expect the person you're with to love you for who you are, and you expect you can't even, the interesting thing, when you are too busy playing this part that you're playing, you can't even find, just that you cannot find it in your heart to love the person that you're with. You cannot find it in your heart to love to show your children love, because you're too busy playing. Why am I doing this? Team man, you're still busy playing walls up. Anytime just as someone may be able to see what the truth is, you put a fresh layer of bricks. So we need to be careful with this, okay? So let me just throw a few, suggestions here. If you aren't already married, do you understand? I will say, if you're someone that went through a lot of grueling, awful things when you were a child, I think that you should find a therapist. Something about therapy it raises a mirror to who you are. And then when you're done with therapy, please be acceptable, be willing to accept yourself. Do you understand? They say pamper yourself. Learn to pamper yourself. Learn to just be like, you really went through a lot. Oh, sorry. Tell yourself that. I know it sounds crazy, but do it. A lot of things I know not living honestly has also done is that we become harsh people. We're harsh to other people. We're harsh to ourselves. I think we're harsher to ourselves than we are to other people, actually. We become very harsh. We're very We're not empathetic in any way, shape, or form. We're just everybody, what's there? Is it today? You hear those kind of things. When you're honest with yourself, you're in touch with that softness in your center. And it goes a long way to actually help your ability to. Because in the end, when I say rethinking marriage, because I did part 1, by the way. Have I said that? I'm going to put the link to part 1 here when I asked what's the point, okay? One of the major things that you want to do with marriage, when you're talking of 50, 60 years down the line, you want to have a more fulfilled, you want to grow something wonderful with your person. You want your children to be able to feel greatly and fully loved, be able to take the challenges in this world with their full chest. That's what love does. When you marry in a dishonest form, when you're dishonest, when you come to a marriage, you're actually plotting for chaos. You're plotting for chaos. And this thing has taken on, there are different forms that they've taken. Like when you think of even things like even movies has also taught us what we can, has also taught us to be dishonest with some things. One day I was talking to my husband about a friend of mine that got flowers, and she said she didn't like flowers. Now the thing is that she could have pretended that she likes flowers because all the movies are told that flowers is what women like. But she doesn't like flowers. Same thing with date ideas. People say, oh, what's the ideal date? Take the girl to a restaurant, 5-star, do this one, that's how you show. So by the time you do all those things, it's a performance. If you understand, first of all, you may not even like it. You're performing for the other person. The other person also may not like it. Everybody is performing. In marriage, they'll tell you things like, oh, there's some things you shouldn't say. But if the things bothers you, and then when you think of the length of the marriage, if something bothers you and you're told not to say it, how long? That's the question I ask myself. How long are you going to stay living in that thing that you don't like just because you're trying to broker peace? That concept of brokering peace, I need to even discuss it. Maybe I should talk about it in my next video. No, I have something for the next video. The idea of brokering peace is that you're bringing peace for the person, not for you. You still live in chaos. You still live in chaos. It doesn't matter how awful what you've done. I frankly believe, if you're someone that believes in the concept of soulmates, I don't believe in soulmates, but I believe that there's someone that's actually willing to be with you with all your whatever madness you think you have. That's one. Then number 2, most times you're not as mad as you think you are. You're not. I'm telling you, it's not that bad. You get. But if we cannot come to this table, this proverbial table that we speak of, if we cannot come to this table with our hearts open and with honesty, the possibility of growing is higher. Growing for you and your spouse, growing for your children. I just read a book. I'll talk about the book in my next video. I think it might show up next. Where this girl found out eventually that her father was not her father when she was almost done with university. Then she got engaged to a guy and found out that the guy's father was her father. Do you have any idea how crazy that is? All I kept thinking was that why couldn't these parents just wake up one day and tell the guy and tell this girl, maybe when she was 13 or 10, after years of showing this child love, that see what's happening. This daddy is not your daddy. He's your daddy. Because the guy loved the girl as the father loved that girl. He's your daddy, but he's not the daddy. I just kept thinking, think of the pain, think of the madness, for years that girl did not go. For 5 years, she left her house and left. She couldn't forgive her family. For 5 years, she was gone. It's not a real story, it's fictional. But we know, my point is that we know what this true thing could be. I talked about how I've talked about earlier where since the smallest unit in every society is the family, a lot of the problems you see in society comes from the family. It comes from the family. If you're not married and you're trying to produce people that are excellent, you're trying to produce, because I know you're thinking of children. Your children are going to be people. Do you understand? So if you're trying to produce people that will be excellent, enviable, productive, responsible, you have to meet that honesty with your full chest. Your children have to know that human beings are human beings. There's no perfection. Those things work people. When you're like, oh, I was the best in my class. Oh, I never did this one. Some people cannot tell. Some parents can. Some women cannot tell their daughters that they had sex before they got married. Why? You did it. Say you did it. They're not in there. Some people married. You will not tell your husband. I'm talking to women. You will not tell your husband how many people you slept with before you. How many abortions you had before you. You don't. Why? Daddy, you will not tell, you to daddy, that's husband, you will not tell your wife that I took here and here before I came, before we landed here. Why? Why? Because you want to preserve your performing. You want to present this idea that I'm not that, but you are. You actually are. you are. It's as glaring. It's shining like this. Exactly how you think it is. That's how it is. But in you accept it, as I say, in the end, you have to be honest with yourself. Because the major issue with honesty is that you tell a lie long enough, you start to believe that lie. Mentioning Joseph's brothers. And you know, the human mind is very strange. The human mind reminds you that you don't say nothing a lie, but you be like, you just continue. You tell the lie. Some people have lied. Some people have been married 40 years and they've lied all through. One particular lie, they've kept that string of lie. Eventually, does it not come through? Don't even get me started I'm from the East. The stories I've heard of families that when the father dies, another family shows up. Why? Why are you bringing in chaos? Why? You know? Why can't you talk to your spouse? I don't like this thing. I wish this was this. Why can't it? Some people say I cannot talk to my spouse about money. Who are you going to talk to about it? Apart from God, who are you going to talk to about it? Sit down. There's money problem. Tell Auntie Ada, money no dey house. Something's happening, man. I need help. Auntie, sit down. Say, my body. I don't know how my body is doing me. You know, we should get to the point where we can tell the truth. If not, you're living a path for chaos, for you, your family, for you to be you will suffer. The more you have to hide this truth, the more you live in this dishonesty, you will suffer the most. That's it for today. Okay, so big shout out. First shout out to Mrs. Teju Mwafo for calling me. After you watched the last video, you just called me and you were like, oh, that was beautiful, that was nice. I love you, you're amazing. Second shout out to Rev Uche Asogwa. I'm sure you will see him in the comment section of the last video. Okay, he sent me a message. I was like, you know what, I'm going to send this to everybody. I love you, sir. Sir. You're an amazing Rev. He's a reverend, by the way, Reverend Uche. He's an amazing person. He's been a great supporter and follower of this channel the whole time. And I just want to say thank you so much, sir. Another one goes to Alero. Alero, I don't know your last name. I'm so sorry. When you're watching this thing, Alero, I just want to let you know that I love you. Thank you so much for watching, and also commenting, and also sharing the link and telling me about it. I really appreciate it. And then of course Amanda Ezenko, thank you. Okay, I like, one of the things I love the most about this young lady Amanda Ezenko is that a lot of times we always have a big conversation to have about everything, you know. And she read this, she watched it, and she was like, oh, you know, she told me what she thought, what she, you know, and all that. And I really thank you for that. So thank you everybody else. Okay, that I did not mention, it doesn't mean that you don't value me. Where at the moment our subscribers are 490 people, and I want to say thank you so much, guys. You guys are so amazing, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, and please leave a comment below and let me know what you think about honesty and this performance of the life. See ya.